Before we start the video, one more thing. The inspiration for this video comes from Bafael and his Bad Balance series, where he kind of does a really similar thing to what I'm going to try to do in this video, as well as Big Yellow and his Fighting Game Gold / Fighting Game Garbage series that he has going on over on his channel. These guys are both great creators. If you're interested in FGC content and like learning tech, learning information that you might not have known about, highly suggest checking those two guys out. They do some great content on their channels. Their links will be in the description below. And yeah, what's up everybody? This is JohnnyTheFlash, and this is the start on a new series that I'm going to be doing, that I'm going to title Move Review. Now Move Review is going to be it's going to be kind of a overall breakdown of certain moves, mechanics, specials in fighting games and things like that, putting out some information about them, things that are good about them, weaknesses that they may have, and some of my personal opinions at the end as well. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of do a little bit more of an informational tone of video than what I usually do. So today we're going to be having, a lot of you are probably expecting this. It is no stranger that I have been wanting to talk about this move for a while. I've ranted about it quite a bit. This is going to be on Millia's Lush Shaker. So Lush Shaker is a move where Millia sticks her hair out and does some multi-hitting jabs right there. It is inputted with 214S or back quarter circle S for those of you who do not know numpad notation. It is a move that is seemingly intended to end block strings with. Millia does not really have really any safe pressure enders. She doesn't have anything that's plus on block outside of 6K. So its job is to kind of give her a little bit of a safe pressure ender, is what it seems like. It can be extended by mashing it, which gives it more range and gives you more damage. It also has the ability to knock down on the mashed hit, so it does give a little light knockdown there where you don't get that if you don't mash. And yeah, I'm gonna be going into the goods and the bads of this move. To its credit, Lush Shaker does have some things that it can technically do. It oftentimes gets mistaken for Millia's command dash Mirage because it shares a startup with the move, if I remember correctly, and it also has a similar animation where she kind of has her arm, she still has her arms tucked in from her standing animation type beat, so it can be hard to tell the difference between the two. So sometimes when you're doing a block string, for instance, and something that would catch Lush Shaker would not catch Mirage, like for instance, if I set chip to 5S here, oh sorry, forgot to put this man on block. So if I set chip to 5S here and he's expecting Mirage, or if he's expecting that, I can kind of just go through that, and oftentimes you can get a punish there if he's expecting Lush Shaker, and you can get kind of a punish there. So that is one of the uses of this, is to kind of like bait it in between Mirage and try to kind of go for that kind of, it's not a mix-up exactly, but it can catch people off guard who are just expecting to just mash a mid button on Lush Shaker because they think you're going to try to end with Lush Shaker, and then you just go through them and do Mirage and punish them. So it has that. It has a pretty subtle startup animation, and it's you know, it mixes up with well, not really mixes up, but it can be mistaken for Mirage, or it's hard to Mirage covers options that it does not, so you have to watch out for that. It's not too uncommon to have this respected by an opponent who isn't wide awake or is scared of Millia's other pressure options. If I do this here, if I do this into sweep, right, Millia's normal mix-up, if you just block there, you will get hit. And I can also do Bad Moon. If you just sit there and you try to mash a button, you will get hit. Now, Millia has the ability to kind of make you scared of her other options, which is sometimes a way that Lush Shaker can be respected on coming out. If somebody's not wide awake, they might not check the startup of it, and you can injure pressure safely. So if I set chip to just not counterattack me here, and then bam, I'm safe, you know, because he decided not to hit a button there, and now I'm back to relative safety. So if, yeah, people are scared of your other options out of a block string, like command dash, like Bad Moon, like sweep, you can sometimes get away with just throwing out Lush Shaker. It's also a decent way to check for defensive options, check for how your opponent is using defensive options. Like if they FD this, I think if they FD I don't know exactly what the frame advantage is, but I know you're much more safe if they just FD this. So yeah, if they FD this, like, you're very safe. If they just decide, if you're checking for pressure options and you do this in a block string and they just start FDing, you're very safe. Like, you're in this scenario, you are in a better position than they are. You're reset to neutral. Let's just say that you're pretty much reset to neutral. If they FD bufflustshaker, you're very safe. I don't think you're plus here, but I think you're safe. You're much more safe because it's -4 normally, and then they just FD'd it, which obviously takes more frame advantage from them. So things like this. Safely ending pressure, checking for defensive options is pretty much what this move seems to be. It seems to be what ArcSys wants you to use this move for. Whenever I see guys like Lord Knight use bufflustshaker, this is pretty much what they do with it. They just use it as a safe block string ender when somebody decides to keep blocking, and then they look for another way in type of beat. It's also worth noting that bufflustshaker does a decent amount of chip damage. It doesn't build a whole lot of wrist gauge, but you mash it, that's a decent amount of chip damage. It does a pretty good amount, so that's worth something. This move can be pretty good for like I said, baiting defensive options, things like that, or looking for them, at least looking for how your opponent is using them. bufflustshaker also has some extremely niche uses that are oddly rewarding. One of the niche uses that I know, one of the only ones that I know of, is Millia actually gets a DP safe block string against chip, and it only works against chip. Technically it works on soul, but the spacing is extremely tight, and I do not believe you get a combo like you do on the one against chip. So let me see if I can get this. Yeah, so you can, and then do all that. So Millia can actually do that. That works in the corner. You get that combo there. This does not work on any other DPs in the game. It only works on Chip's DP. As far as I can tell, it technically works on Soul's DP too, but as far as I can tell, you don't get a combo, and it's inconsistent. If you try this on Leo or Kai, though, it will just straight up, bufflustshaker will straight up get beat. Like, it will, their hitboxes are too large on their DPs. It will straight up just beat bufflustshaker. But this is something that you can do on Chip. Now, on to what I do not like. And there is a lot about this move that I do not like. First of all, this move is 27 frames of startup, giving it the slowest startup out of any of Millia's moves, aside from 6K, which is plus on block, by the way. This move is -4 at best, unless they FD it. So you already have that issue. So you have that as an issue. This move has kind of been gutted of a lot of its utility from past games, and doesn't really have a whole lot added to compensate. This move used to be 17 frames of startup. It's now 27 frames of startup. This move used to have a lot less recovery, and this move used to be plus on block, whereas now it's minus. It's not even neutral. The move led to frame traps before. You kind of just use it as like a safe ender now. It used to have like a bunch of interesting follow-ups and some combo utility. You could use it to vary people's wake-up timing. I don't even think it's worth to use this in combos. Even the combos where you kind of can get something, they're not optimal. You can do easier with just Millia's B&Bs. So for instance, there are some things that you can get out with bufflustshaker, like just something like this, something simple like that, right? That was 256. And you know, you just got 204 right there. Now that's pretty simple. There are obviously some routes that do more damage, especially routes that are anti-air routes that catch the opponent in the air. But for the most part, there's not, at least that I know of, too many reasons to ever try to use bufflustshaker in a combo. It doesn't even really work in combos in mid-screen without meter, as far as I know. Because when you, let's just set Chip to jump here. When you catch somebody in the air with this, they just get blown away. And you can't follow up. And it's not, it's a light knockdown. They can just tech right away, and yeah, that happens. So can't really use it in combos. Onto what bufflustshaker, how it's supposed to be used, quote unquote, in this game in block strings. This is my big problem with this move. Like I kind of hinted at before, you can technically do a block string from close slash and, you know, do command dash to try to mess them up. But guess which catches both command dash and Lust Shaker and beats them both on startup? Lows. You can do a low, and any block string that Millia tries to do, where she will try to, will get you smacked, and that could be a full punish right there. You can't go through it with Mirage either, because Mirage is only upper body invincible. I just don't understand what's going on here, to be honest. It's just, you can be answered if you think Millia is ever going to try to put you in a block string. I understand that Millia has other options to mix up her game here, but this is reactable, right? Like, this is 27 frames of startup. Canceling into it doesn't take startup away. You can still kind of see that coming and watch for it. I have seen some people use this and people get caught in it, but I have used this online myself, and I'm sorry, I just personally think that this is a big problem. Lust Shaker has its uses for giving Millia a way to in-hurt pressure safely without committing to a mix-up. But the problem is, right, you're basically, Bad Moon is like minus 17 or something like that, if I remember correctly. Bad Moon is very minus, right? So why am I putting myself, you're still having, in order to go for this save ender, right, you're still putting yourself at risk. The risk versus reward for you is so disproportional to the risk versus reward for your opponent, in my opinion, because this move gets you full comboed if they call you out. And if they don't call you out, all you are is -4. So you're putting yourself in counter hit state for half a second just to be -4 after it and in pressure safely. And when you got characters in this game that can kind of just like always end their pressure safely, like for instance Soul, Ram, like May, like people who can kind of just not ever have to commit really if they don't want to. Millia, who gets blown up for making a single mistake, has her only real safe way of ending her pressure still get her blown up. You may as well just commit to a mix-up at that point, because this is really, in my opinion, this seems like the type of thing that would only work on an opponent one time. Like, somebody's only going to block this in a block string like once before they figure out what's going on, unless you're really just already putting them into Blender. Basically doing a fake block string just so you can be minus afterwards, and that's betting on the chance that they don't just smack you out of the startup. Otherwise, you get pretty much nothing from hitting them with this. Like, if you hit the mash version, you get a tiny knockdown. Lust Shaker is even minus on hit, so even if you hit somebody with it, they can just mash. Yeah, when I was testing this, I thought you could get some sort of advantage off of hitting this, but unless you managed to hit confirm or get out the mashed version, which is -9 on block, you don't get any advantage. All of this compounded by this move's 27 frame startup, combined with it not building really any risk gauge, combined with it not really doing enough chip damage to justify the startup either, kind of just makes this, using this in a block string or using this in most ways, just makes the risk so disproportionate to the reward, in my opinion. It doesn't feel like the type of thing that would work more than once or twice on the same opponent. And Lust Shaker is essentially a test of your opponent's reflexes and whether or not they're going to mess up, rather than an option that the opponent actually has to respect in any way. This also compounded with the fact that they replaced that beautiful animation. There's not really very many practical uses for this. I get that Arxis wants you to use this to try to bait out block strings and things like that, but it's just not practical. It's just not practical. This gap is too big. At this point, you may as well, you're taking about the exact same risk to try doing this as you would be to do 2K Bad Moon. Like, this is 27 frames of startup. They have 27 frames to smack you. This is -17 on block. You're actually, on paper, you're taking a bigger risk trying to do this. So it's just the worst case scenario, or the best case scenario for your opponent not challenging this 27 frame startup move, is you being negative on hit and negative on block, and your reward for hitting them isn't great, even if you happen to hit out the mash version, which gives a soft knockdown. your opponent stood there for half a second just for them to get their turn back. Risked, again, getting counter hit for mad HP just to be in a slightly okay position. I feel like this move could be extremely good if they either sped up the startup or if they made it neutral or slightly plus on block. I think that doing either one of those would make this move feel a lot better, would make this move a lot more rewarding. It would at least make the move a little bit more worth the risk. I honestly think the startup is probably the most egregious part of this move. Like, being -4 isn't horrible. It's just a terrible reward, in my opinion, for a move with this much startup. Like, Potemkin has 1 frame more startup than Lust Shaker, and Potemkin Buster makes Potemkin plus dang near plus 20 and like plus almost 30 if it's meaty. And it gives him grab setups. You can't yellow RC. It guard breaks. It does all that. I'm not saying Millia needs any of that. I'm not saying she needs this move to be buffed, but I'm saying this move's risk reward is not good. This move is not a good move, in my opinion. I understand ArcSys's direction with this move to an extent. I just think that they didn't want to give her Millia too much stuff to where it would feel oppressive or too oppressive, because they already knew Millia was probably going to be a fairly strong character with all her cancels, the fact that she has, you know, all these mix-ups you got to watch out for. Like, they understood that if they gave Millia probably too much leeway in this game, like they didn't, like the old games, that they gave her like too much stuff that would make her plus. They didn't want Millia being plus. They didn't want you to have to deal with actual plus frames on top of mental plus frames with this game the way that it is. At least that's what it seems like. And while I get that, I still think that lengthening this move startup by 10 frames and making it minus at the same time, not giving it that much chip damage, not giving it any risk gauge buildup, is too much. I think it's too much. I think it's too much. I think this move needs something. This move needs a concrete and defined use, because right now this move has nothing that it can do that is real. This move is never a real threat or a real option that your opponent should have to deal with on paper. Like, you have to respect this. You have to respect TK Batmoon. You have to respect close slash into sweep. You have to respect close slash into, like, you know, air overhead and things like that. You have to respect that, because there's something else that she could do that makes you decide. You don't have to respect this. You see that startup, you're done. It's over with. You throw out a low. You see Millia keeping her arms tucked in while doing a block string. You just do a low. You just do your longest range low and convert off that jump. Millia is a strong character. Don't think that she needs the buffs, but I think that if they want this move to be used, if ArcSys wants this move to have an identity, it does need to be changed. In conclusion, I want them to buff Lust Shaker. Hashtag buff Lust Shaker. This move used to be an integral part of her kit, and now it's kind of not. It's kind of just not good. I think this move needs fixing, man. I just do. Thank you guys for watching until the end of the video. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming to my TED Talk, my little rant about Lust Shaker. I hope that somebody found it somewhat informative. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. I'm not a very high level player by any standard. I'm just a guy who likes fighting games. So if you got anything else to hit me up with, to let me know about. If there's anything I don't know about Lust Shaker that you would like to say in the comments, please tell me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.